Games Workshop isn't the only company that has fun with exclusives.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com. And in this video, I'm going to unbox, but probably not build, this Star Wars Celebration exclusive miniature for, diorama for Star Wars Legion because, A, I don't have the time, and B, I'm not exactly sure I want to actually put it together quite yet. So basically, I spent about $500 with tax and shipping on this thing. Just because, it's something to talk about, and, it helped out somebody else at the show, for their trip to London and what have you. And I'd much rather spend money, like $500 on something like this, than $300 on the Lion, when I know that eventually you'll be able to get that Primarch miniature at some point separately from Games Workshop, hoping. This is kind of a calculated thing because these do, in some ways, hold their value. You might remember the 2019 Chicago exclusive of Darth Vader, like alternate sculpt, that you can't even find them on eBay. And when you do, I see them go for like $1,000. So I can just put this in my case behind me and maybe let it chillax for a little while. It might be worth something. It was just a fun thing to talk about and show you guys here on the channel because, something like this, I'm much more okay with spending some money on than something that's going to be available down the road as a regular stock item. So currently these are going for anywhere around $300 to $500 ish. And I expect the price will probably drop a little bit more when you're able to get these at GenCon in August. Although, the price might spike this summer, but then after that, that's pretty much it. So, whatever's out there is going to be out there. Now, there will probably be more of these than the ones at Chicago, the Vader operative figure with the cool flame sculpts at the bottom. That's probably always going to have really good value, but this one here, you can definitely see it's kind of spiraling down. Now, this cost attendees 90 pounds, British pound sterling at the event. So it's kind of starting to spiral down towards around the 2x to 3x level. Whereas if we look at what it was going for of the weekend of the event, they were going for a lot more, which was just wild to see. But like I said, with a little perseverance and a little refreshing on your screen, I found one at the time for about $500, including shipping and taxes and everything. So I pulled the trigger on it. It was a little higher than I wanted to spend, but it'd be something fun to talk about here on the channel. So that's kind of why I did it, but I don't know if I'll be able to actually bring myself to build it. Although we have seen that this is a resin kit. Well, since we won't be assembling it, here's at least what it'll look like when it's all put together and painted. Obviously, it's always looking better when you see the painted version here. And this was the one in the case at the Celebration, of course. It's relatively easy to paint here. Just a little bit of dry brushing up here. You can use a toothbrush to flick paint once you dip it in, just really lightly and really watery white paint, and then you can actually flick it with the bristles of a toothbrush, obviously one you're not going to use again, and that's how you get that effect right there. But for the rest, you can really get crazy with it, however much you want, of course, depending on what you want to do with the lightsabers, like if you want to do fluorescent paint or something like that. But the rest of it, pretty much just paint normal, like you would some, one of your Legion figures or something like that. You can do a little bit of fades here on the control consoles and things. As far as them just going into the recess of the diorama base, that's what I'm interested in, to be quite honest. And we do know this is resin, so it's a little bit different material. And then the Emperor is, you could take him off the diorama if you wanted to and use him as a figure. You need an extra base, of course. But that might be interesting, seeing people play with him rocking around the table in his throne command chair right there. And then here's the box set itself. It's kind of small. It's a little bit bigger than, I would say it's about 2 Games Workshop kit, normal kit sizes deep here. And you can tell it is going to be a resin kit because it's packed in the white box. And it isn't kind of a sealed up, and it's got some girth to it and some heft. So, it's definitely not something, there's a little bit of a smudge right there. That's all right. So it's definitely not something that that was kind of created for this event. And I understand that because you don't want to tool up, injection molding for something like that. And then on the back here, it's got some of the alternate artwork that is one of the command cards in here and gives the contents and everything. And I did notice that it said assembled in the USA of domestic and imported parts. So I'm actually wondering what versions of this stuff in here was actually made out of country, and then obviously the rest of it was kind of assembled for AMG here in the States, probably at the Asmodee warehouse in Minnesota, I would imagine, or one of the other, I think they got about 4 or 5 of them here in the States. The slide cover takes a little bit of finagling to get off with, you know, it's still intact, but it isn't undoable, and that's why I've already kind of rummaged through this a bit. But I was like, hey, this would be cool to do a video of, so I wanted to get it all boxed back up and turn the camera on and show you guys everything that came inside of it. So it's going to come with the normal document, you know, the QR code for assembly, all the credits and things like that, and then a little mini poster on the back, not unlike what you would see in a normal Legion expansion pack. And then you've got the components here, which are new ones, and we'll show you those here in a second. And I'm wondering if these are the components that were made out of country, because I feel like this stuff they wouldn't make and then ship here. So you've got the Vader keyword card, or the Vader character card right there, which we've seen this before and it looks really good. It's got the alternate art right there. And they've got alternate art from the Jedi battle. And I'm not really sure, you know, nobody's really talked about this, but Return of the Jedi is 40 years old this year, which is just wild when I think about it in general. So all this, of course, is from the Return of the Jedi, and obviously the battle and the throne room. Now, these are all the normal cards that are already out there with some alternate art on them, and the normal stuff on the back, and then the Luke Skywalker card for... This would be the operative card, and of course Vader's the commander card there. And then got alternate art as well, full of surprises, a little bit different. I think it was Bespin when he jumps out of the carbon freezing chamber. And then I am a Jedi, and you serve your master well. I think that one was actually in Tatooine, or in the Return of the Jedi movie as well, because I like to play with Luke Skywalker when I play Legion. And then here's a warning here, of course, cast resin product, you know, use your respirator and things, because you can't really get particulates out of your lungs once they get in there, so be very careful. That goes, you know, for forge roll and things too. And I wondered what was in this right here, this little box. I was like, I wonder what's so important that they put it in here. And shockingly, and we had already seen pictures of these because somebody posted theirs from the show, but these are the lightsaber arms, believe it or not. So the extra multiple, and they give you multiples of them in case you like snap them. There's 3 of each in here, which is really good because you don't want to spend money on something like this. But the fact that they protected it so well in this box is, you know, really cool to see, because not a lot of people would think about that, and you got. And then they just kind of like variously kind of pack the rest of the components in here. And you can tell it was kind of, you know, done and then shrink wrapped and things. And we've seen stuff like this before from overseas, so I'm not completely sold on the fact that this might not have been done overseas, but perhaps it was. And let me get this out of here. It's really hard to say for sure, and I'm not going to open this, but there is an article over on Spiky Bits, which I will link in here, that'll show you all of these parts in, you know, as someone showed it a little bit closer. But the resin itself, let's see if we can get in here. The resin itself is very, very crisp, like crisper than plastic, which is one of the advantages to resin, but you can't get as much posability with resin sometimes, right? So it was really cool to see that they were able to kind of pull that off with these, because I feel like these kits here are pretty dynamic. And one of the things I was worried about was that these wouldn't be exactly square, and these look to be very square, which I was eminently thrilled with. And then here's the Emperor, and yes, you can put the Emperor, and he is super crisp. Like that robe compared to his miniature is ridiculously crisp. You can do the Emperor and put him on a base if you want, which would just be, like I said, hilarious to see. And then you've got the actual bottom base here, which you could put this on a, if you get a large GW base, probably like an oval, or you could do an oval, like a 170 oval would probably work, or you could get a 130 round. That would also work, but either of those would definitely work. And you could slot those guys in here, and there's where the Emperor goes. And then some of the control chambers and things, which are also very well done and have a very good look to them. So overall, I feel like for the money, the craftsmanship is definitely there. So, you know, overall, I'm pretty happy with my purchase here. You know, I think it's a good quality product. It is exclusive. It may never be worth the money I spent on it, but it'll be worth around that, I would imagine. And you know, if you missed your chance to get one of these, if you weren't in Europe and you didn't go to the event and you didn't want to pay the higher prices, I completely understand. You will probably have a chance to get it for a little bit cheaper when it comes here to the States at GenCon this August. So be on the lookout for, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of them hitting, and you know, you can probably hit your friends up if they're going there to snag one up for you as well. But I'm sure the price will definitely come down. I'm not sure, you know, the Great Britain pound is about it's about par-ish to us. So if I had to guess, I would say these might be $100 US when they come here to the States. So you know, it's still an expensive product altogether. But you know, if you see these drop down about $200, I would imagine that that's going to be, quote, a good deal if you don't know anybody going to Gen Con. So if you see them hit $200 on eBay, it probably might not be a bad buy, I think, overall. But, you know, I think in the long term, they'll probably end up going for about $400 or $500, give or take, in the long term, depending on, you know, if they do make just for these two events. That would be my estimation there. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And me personally, I'd much rather spend money on something like this than something that was FOMO'd and, you know, allocated and capped out and their website crashed, you know, that like what just happened with Games Workshop over the weekend with their rollout of the Primark miniature Lionel Johnson, which was a story for not this video, of course. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching my unboxing and not build of the Strike Me Down exclusive battle pack from convention exclusive for 2023. This one came out of the UK celebration over in Europe, but soon it'll be at GenCon as well. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at patreon.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too to help support what they're doing. Plus, discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/SpikeyBits.